Hello and welcome to Brutally Honest Level Review with your host, Nate FH, the Geometry Dash YouTube series where I give my brutally honest review of levels with no sugarcoating. And in this week's video, we will be reviewing nothing in particular, as it's time for another discussion-based video. Remember to subscribe for more level reviews, and make sure to comment what level you want me to review, and I'll pick one out for the next episode. Okay, so longer time viewers may be surprised when I'm talking about another platformer again, as last time I talked about platformer in general was around 10 months ago. However, there is one level in particular that's caused quite a bit of a stir, with some people think it's borderline mythic, and those who think that guys deserve rating a feature. That being Deja Vu by Cherry Team. Intended or not, this is probably one of the most important platformers, as it's the perfect example on what to not do when building a platformer level. While Deja Vu might have great visuals, it's just about everything else in the level that's either mediocre or downright awful. When it comes to the ratings that platformers get, principles of game design are taken much more into account, such as gameplay, level design, and complexity of mechanics used in the level. This means that there isn't as much of an incentive for crazy deco. The raw level design in Deja Vu is lacking at best and awful at worst. The level's gimmick is that you have Deja Vu and go through the same scene multiple times but with wildly different environments. While a cool idea on paper, unfortunately, the way they executed this gimmick is the most lazy way imaginable. There's very little to absolutely no differences between each of the different environments, which causes the player to just end up playing the exact same gameplay 4 different times. The gameplay gets tiring after the first 2, so having to play through it 4 times is not fun. This really shows how little Cherry Team knows about how to make good platformers, or they just did not give a single shit about how well it played. The expectations that people have of Cherry Team is also absurdly high, so seeing a level that flopped this hard is really weird. Now, this wouldn't be the end of the world if the raw gameplay is at least fun, so is it? No, not really. The raw gameplay is mediocre at best. There's absolutely nothing here that's super interesting other than maybe this circle of spikes that rotate. There's also just a bunch of small stuff that makes the gameplay very annoying at points, such as having to just barely slide off the blocks where those spikes rotate. While the deco is by far this level's strongest point, it also harms the gameplay, as it either obscures the hitboxes or is so ungodly laggy that it's barely playable without an LDM. For a level like this, I would personally recommend some yellow paint. The level ends up playing more like a deco showcase rather than, you know, an actual Geometry Dash level. It's a shame because the general idea could have been really interesting if it was built upon. You could easily look at other games that have a time loop gimmick such as Majora's Mask and Outer Wilds and use those as inspiration. Maybe have the environments loop with specific events that connect each of the environments, so the player completes a central puzzle by having to visit every single environment. Maybe have something in the waterfall in the first part they need to grab to unlock something in the second part. This would make the level feel more connected and open up so many possibilities for an enjoyable puzzle level. But now the only thing this level is good for is looking pretty. Honestly, the best thing about this level is that it's good for B-roll footage. So what do you need to make a good short platformer? Well, the first thing you're going to want is a core gameplay idea. You first build around this simple gameplay idea, and then as the player understands said gimmick, you can start to build off of that and add more complex challenges. Now, this isn't the only way to make a great platformer, but it's a very common one which you see everywhere in gaming. An example of a platformer that doesn't follow this design philosophy exactly is Kaizo Yahtzee by Pac. A bit off topic, but when I was playing Kaizo Yahtzee for the first time, I was super confused because I don't know how to play Yahtzee. Anyway, one thing I did neglect to mention is that Deja Vu was made for Vibrant's 5th mini creator contest. This was Vibrant's first platformer creator contest, which focused on smaller levels which could be easily done in one quick session, ideally around a 5-minute completion time. Now let's look at another platformer made for Vibrant's 5th creator contest that actually is fantastic. That being Polychrome by IMAX. Not only does Polychrome look great, but it has everything that is missing in Deja Vu. The main gameplay and gimmick are both exquisite, with them being super unique and incredibly enjoyable. The main gimmick revolves around these orbs that change depending on what color spotlight is on them. If a red spotlight is on an orb, it turns red. Green spotlight, green orb, and so on. But the level actually expands upon this idea by introducing combined colors such as green and red creating a yellow orb. Later on, more mechanics are introduced in addition to these, such as hitting a button to change the color of a spotlight and actually having the spotlight on your icon. This keeps the player engaged throughout the entire time they'll be playing the level. This is reflected in Polychrome's rating of Legendary, while Deja Vu is featured, which, yeah, is pretty deserved. I'm pretty thankful that Vibrant's 5th mini creator contest happened, as I was actually interested in platformers for a few days, when most of the time, I just don't really care about them at all. Honestly, now that I think about it, in general, when it comes to highly rated platformers, I think that they're going in the wrong direction. when I go to the feature tab if I'm bored while playing or building, I'm able to beat most levels within 5 minutes with or without practice mode, then move on to another level. I simply can't do that with most highly rated platformers. Too many end up taking so long even in practice, I just don't even bother playing them. Not to mention that watching the entire level on YouTube can also take a while. I recently beat Ode to Your, which was pretty fun, but before then, I probably hadn't beaten a platformer demon in like 8 months. And that was back when I beat my first platformer stream, Kaiza. I would like to try more, if it didn't require me to have to do it in one session. The fact that you can't exit out of platformers without losing all your progress, combined with how long many of these tend to take, makes it very intimidating and unappealing for me to try to beat many of these platformer demons, which is why I haven't made a video about one in 10 months. Now, if RomTop added the ability to save progress when exiting platformer levels, then that would get me to play way more platformer demons, but that also might just make the game mode way easier, as having to dedicate 8 hours at once to an extreme might just be part of the difficulty. One other big factor is that many of the highly rated platformers are just simply not Geometry Dash levels. While it's astonishing that people can use the GD editor to make whole-ass games, I play GD to, well, play GD, so those levels don't tend to interest me. Oh, and many of these minigame levels take like 5 years to beat, so that combined with not being able to save when exiting platformer levels doesn't help. Also, I never see normal platformers at the top of feature anymore. It's like once a week max, and those platformers I usually do see fall into one of these two categories. I guess platform being treated more as a novelty by RomTop doesn't help either. Overall, Deja Vu does a really good job on showing how to not make a platformer, and it demonstrates the differences in rating standards between classic and platformer levels very well. If more highly rated platformers were easier to digest, then I would have a lot more fun with the game mode. Now with that being said, I'll now go back to completely forgetting about platformers until the next GD Awards.